Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you as usual from the Pine Hills Palace just west of Orlando, Florida. I am in the Extreme Studios, and I have here on a line with me from the Great Midwest, RDV. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell from the title, we are reviewing a show that we both really like called Richters. Season 3, episodes 1 through 3 are currently available, and it's going to be a weekly drop that we may just be doing. And RDV, I got to tell you, I've read most of the books the past couple of years. I haven't. I've had an issue with season 2 because I thought it was a massive drop off in quality, and I thought the idea of them really involving Neely and the group and all that is doing a service to me. It's a character-driven show. I don't want to see a supporting cast. Season 3, I'm liking a lot, especially this third episode. I think it's the best of the 3. There's something about it that's picking up, and it's one of the charms that the show has too. So, first 3 episodes, give it to me. What's your initial take?
Well, I want to come real quickly, but we're talking about season 2. Season 2 felt like I was getting a Josh Whedon, so I don't want Team Arrow, Team all this BS crap. You know, right. I like it when a guy is able to work on his own, and that's kind of what he did in this. In the sense, for those who watch shows like Bosch, he pretty much did everything by himself. You know, and that's just shows I like that.
Yes.
So with this Richters, that's the first season was pretty much him by himself. He had help, from some of the other guys. He had the other help the 2 cops, but for the most part, he was on his own. Second season, he goes in. He introduced his crew. All he's worked with when he was back in the military piece. It was great for a background thing, but I didn't. Right. I'm so glad that he decided to. You know what? I'm gonna leave, go by myself, take my toothbrush. First episode, you see him in a record shop. You don't know why he's doing, but he's selling some old records. Obviously, he's got some weird disco records. And then as he's looking out the store window, sees this kid, pretty much, or this car basically get rammed by this other pickup. Guy comes out with a Uzi, starts shooting at him. He rescues this kid, and in the process ends up shooting a cop. So he has to they get in. And you're like, what the heck? He just starts off with high octane, which I think I was the first season, wasn't that? Where he punched the woman's getting abducted. He goes and he punches through the driver's side window. It's kind of same octane,
I think that was second. The first, I think, was the one where, whatever it is.
But you know what I mean, though.
It's an opening gambit, right? Except for it's a seasonal gambit because this defines what happens the whole season.
Yeah. So it was like, what the heck? But I love that because you just jump right into the action. And then he gets further on, he takes the kid home. We introduce this dude who's like about 7'8", this bodybuilder guy that he hired. In the show, they hired this guy because we have Richters huge. That's always been a thing, the running joke. Nobody wants to go up against him because he's tall. He's going to beat your ass. They get someone who's taller than him.
Makes him look small.
He does.
The dude's massive. He's legit, and the way they film it, you're like, man, Richters, you're a punk compared to this guy.
Yeah, he's he makes Richters look like he's 5'9", standing next to the Rock, very Mysterio. But yeah, he goes. The security guard goes there. He finds the guy. This kid's loaded. He's rich. His dad is obviously at the bottom right corner of the screen. As Anthony Michael Hall.
Absolutely. That's the nerd from all the John Hughes movies from the 80s. Absolutely. Yep. And he plays the tough guy really well.
Yes, in this. So we don't know who the bad guy is. All we know is that this kid's his dad's kind of a jerk, It doesn't seem like he cares as much, and he's basically pressures Richters into basically, he's like my security guard, guy, detail for him, for my son is dead. So, and he's like, and they're like, you're wanted by the police, so either you work for me or we hand you over to the cops. So he's being blackmailed by this guy. And you're like, and all we know about this guy, and he sells carpets.
He sells carpets with a really dumb but creative name, Bazaar, which is cool.
Yeah, isn't that? It sounded like a Duran Duran song.
Right, I know, right? So here's the thing with the setup. Obviously, Richters shoots a cop, and you're like, okay, whatever. And the kid he saves just seems like he's an average kid who just happens to have a father that's rich, because This, I think, supposed to be up there in Maine. So you get, I'm assuming it was filmed on there because of the coast and everything.
It looks
looks
like it
beautiful.
looks like Haven almost.
I was just gonna say, it reminds me of that, which of course we have reviewed here. Season 1 it was one of our first shows. Check that out. But one of the things I really liked about the setup is, by now, if you're used to the Reacher template, as we like to say, the Chuck Norris template or the James Bond, there's an opening gambit, but here it defines what's happening during the season. So this kid's right out of college. It's a very small town. Why is Reacher selling records and all that? We find out that we'll get a little bit of a backstory here. It's a couple days earlier sort of scene. There's a setup. One of the things I liked about all this is that he's intentionally working his way in it, because Reacher's not dumb enough to accidentally shoot a cop. So how does he get there? You find out. Now, you made a comment. Anthony Michael Hall is the main guy doing it. They're basically going to vet the Reacher character, see what's going on with them, because, hey, you killed a cop. We need somebody here.
Well, yeah, right away we're led to believe that he's dirty. He's involved with something, and that's why, and obviously the kid's been kidnapped before. He's got his ear's missing on his left side.
This kid was kidnapped
5 years ago. 5 years, yeah.
He's got the cauliflower ear, and you don't really notice. It's not grotesque or whatever.
Well, you do when he turns his head, and you see like our ear sticking out, and there's nothing there.
Right, but it's not. It's not like, oh my God, he's a freak. It's just, if you have a cauliflower ear, don't MMA. Look ugly, but whatever. Yeah. But the thing I wanted to touch upon was with Anthony Michael Hall's character, the kid's father. You say he's cold, he's this and that. I'm going to go the other way and say, based off the guy's reaction, you can tell he's scared, because he actually takes him in to check if his kid's all right. He does, even though his son says, yeah, my dad doesn't have time for me. The kid's young. He's a young man. He's not whining. He's saying it matter of fact. It's not a daddy didn't love me sort of thing. It's yes. And this is interesting, because the father, I think, generally cares for him. He's like, you saved his life? Okay, well, this is what's going to happen. He needs Reacher.
It kind of feels like the dad pretty much like treats the kid as an investment, almost, kind of sense, like it, because he got kidnapped last time. Now he got kidnapped again, almost kidnapped. So it's like he's a liability.
Here, right?
There's something else going on. But exactly. But we're led to believe that he's a dick. He's kind of and because the way he does the Reacher, how they treat him, they make him play Russian roulette with his gun. And Reacher does do it. And Reacher does do it, and he keeps going boom, boom. He's like, okay, you proved your loyalty. It's like you can take. It's like, so Reacher is kept prisoner on this compound, and he's led to his room, and he gets up to his room. All of a sudden, he takes his shoe off, and all of a sudden, and on the bottom of his heel, there's a cell phone there. He calls. He says, "I'm in."
Get smarts it.
Oh, I was like, what the heck? Little compartment, and he just pulls a flip phone, and so we get a flashback to a couple weeks prior. This FBI agent, approaches Reacher at his motel he'd been staying at, and pretty much you could tell this is going to be the love interest for the season right away. The way they kind of harass each other, and just make little comments. And so basically, she says, like, I've been investigating this guy, and you're in my town, and obviously you're looking for this guy. Well, you'll do you a favor, and then you do us a favor, because Reacher is actually looking for this other guy's Asian guy, who's I think it's Liam or something like that, or Ling.
It was somebody from his previous,
yeah. He was supposed to basically thought he'd take care of it. He killed him, but it turns out this guy's still alive, and it's bad news. Even when he calls the colonial information, she learns that wait, he's alive, and she's like, "I'm coming to see you." He's like, "No, you're not. Stay where you are. I don't need your help." I'm like, "Thank you, Amazon. I didn't need another team up." But yeah, so Reacher's undercover. We're gonna work for this guy. He's gonna work his way up, and it's such an interesting way to start this off. He said, like, it's first he killed the cop, but guess what? He didn't kill the cop, because the cop when they're talking about the whole plan, they're when Reacher, in order to make it believable, they're going to kidnap this kid in order to get his way into this secret compound, because there's no information on this guy
he's clean.
He's clean. So
he's too clean.
Yeah. So, and she says that the last informant she sent in there was their CI is missing. Mm-hmm. So that's why Reacher goes in there, and so the way to design it was really cool how they set up the whole thing, the kidnapping, fake kidnapping. The one
a bit over elaborate, which this kind of stuff I don't care about necessarily. Honestly, I like it when it's more of an organic situation. And with the books of future seasons, I'm sure.
The reason I liked it because it reminded me of Rabbit Hole. This is how you do this thing. It's how you're going to pull a con over somebody. I love this stuff. Like Leverage does this all the time with that show. It was on.
Right.
It just shows that these people, it gives people more screen time, and also gets you build more characterization. You get to learn more personalities, characters, because these characters, even though they're side characters, are going to be in the show. The three cops. Not only that, they kept the driver alive.
Yes.
They're holding him in hostage, not hostage, but they're keeping him locked up. And here's the thing, though. So there's the two main cops. There's the girl, and then there's this other guy. He's kind of heavy set. He kind of if you ever watch Corner Gas, he kind of reminds you of one of the cops. He's kind of dumb, but he's overweight, but at some points he's kind of smart. He's the one that Reacher shoots, but he actually doesn't shoot him. He actually is using this Hollywood effects where they shoot some blood out, and they show how it's going to be done. And but I love that there's one thing being characters. One of the characters he's a new intern cop or a Fed.
Yeah, new to the force.
The end of the force, and he's you kind of feel like this. Okay, we already know what's going to happen. If this guy's left alone to watch this driver who used to work for
he's gonna be the reason why this guy escapes, and you know it's going to happen. You just don't know which episode is going to happen, but you got this feeling, and I love how they purposely make you go down that path. That's creative. That's what I love about Rabbit Hole. They give you red herrings. So. Everything that you've talked about, you see a play on it going, where it unfolds just a little bit, it's in episode 2 and 3, because 2 is obviously the episode where he's got to go on this big road trip, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So how do you make a road trip not boring? That's when you put something pressed for time, you get people kind of talking and advancing the plot with some other stuff, and that happens here. Now 2 to me is kind of a routine episode. I don't know how interesting it is.
We have to drive the truck. Yep.
Yeah, but one of the things about Reacher is, he's a big motherfucker, and he's going to get in a fight, and he's going to beat somebody, and it's going to be violent, which is cool.
They glossed over a main fact, though, in the first episode. They had to go to the compound. Remember the grenade went in the truck? So they send this guy, Angel, who's like the big guy, he's basically a tech guy.
Mr. Number 2.
Yeah, he was meant to, Angel was number 2. He was like, he worked for them. He was like, he's trying to work his way up. Anyway, so Angel goes with Reacher, the middle of the night. They have to go to the compound and look at the vehicles, and he quickly calls the Fed. Calls her and tells her, "Hey, you need to get on there. And you need to make it look like a brain matter over there, because if they realize that he's alive, this blows the whole operation." She's down there. She manages to switch the plates. Reacher, because he doesn't want the guy Angel was like, either going to bribe him or I'm going to shoot him, and the guy wasn't going to accept the bribe, so Reacher punched the guy out because he didn't want to. He's like, and the guy's like, "Why'd you do that?" Because I didn't want to. I already killed one cop. I don't need to kill another one. Let's get this over with. I'll go to bed. But I said, so that guy becomes a problem for him in the second episode, which we're going to get to now.
And one of the things that I think they just briefly touched on in episode 1 and episode 2, talking about side characters. This guy's not a side character, but it's leading in episode 2 where things happen. You get more of the side characters, a little bit fleshing out more of the backstory, that stuff that's going on. But one of the things that I like and people call us an action show. If you read the novels, it's really not. It's really a spy novel. And I say that because there's a lot more stalking, information gathering. There's a lot of what we would call classical, old school detective work, where you're trying to gain information. You're trying to think about stuff. If this is true, then this might be, hey, based off my experience as a guy who in the military caught criminals and all that, he has a sense for things. So what I like is we don't know what the story is. And we don't know what it is by episode 3, where we go, okay, now the rest of the episodes are just going to fill it out. We're going to have some action, and that's it. No. This will go 5, 6, 7 episodes before you almost quite get to see 100% of all the wheels in motion. And I like that. Most shows don't have that as a template. You basically get the setup, and then it's really just a payoff, and can we delay it or throw in a little red herring, to your point. What I liked here is that we know Reacher's a big guy. He loves his coffee. He loves eating. He's not getting any sleep, basically, with everything that's going on. We see him do some spy work, climbing out and swimming away and meeting her for a rendezvous to go and deal with some stuff. So that's cool. But one thing that caught my interest watching this, especially going into the 3rd episode that's kind of related, is one character, he goes into the kitchen, and it's later at night, and he's trying to eat, And he's polite to the people that are hired there. And one of them is an older lady. She's like, what are you doing?
Yep.
He's like, what do you mean? Wipe your shoes off, before you come in my kitchen. And the other lady's like French. And so I go, wait a minute. This is a way to introduce potentially a character. Maybe he can work on the inside. And it seems organic. I've used that word twice now about how these things develop. You normally don't get that in TV shows.
Yeah, because Reacher had a problem with this guy in the second episode of Truckin. He basically had to have I love the whole thing. The whole premise of the second episode is basically he's on a time mission. They're probably following with tracking GPS, which we will learn later on that Angel was.
Yes.
So he meets with the FBI. It says like we are going to have a 30-second window. They're pulling the truck stop to get gas. You can look in the back, see what I'm hauling. Make sure it's not hauling drugs. They bring in a cop, snips. They're also
bringing the dog. Yep.
Make sure there's no cadaver.
And you know what's drugs, in there?
Just carpets.
Just rugs.
Just rugs. That's all it is. But I love how they do it, though. He's like, well, we're stopped here. I'm going to give this to the other cop. You're going to drive with the GPS, make it look like we're still going.
Yes.
And I'll meet you up there, get you. And he delivers the rugs, and then they after soldering the lock back on stuff, and the guys are like, oh, there's just rugs in there. What do you think we were hauling? When he gets there, he's like, so then he goes into the warehouse. Angel's like, I want to talk to you. There's and Angel finds out that Angel. No, he made him. He made him. So he ends up slamming his head on the spike where all the post-its are and kills him. Then he breaks his legs and shoves him onto the desk.
Yeah, and that's where we want to see that kind of violence, because you don't see it coming. He's going to do something. Is he going to knock him out? How's he going to react? And what does he do? He just has to kill him.
The only problem is when he gets back, he learns that the guy had sent an email out, and he wanted, you don't know, did anything? Did the angel say anything to you about this? He's like, no, I don't think I know about this. Whatever. No. So whatever. So then. Okay, I think it's by the third episode. Okay, now the third episode, we're getting into where Reacher basically has to go explore the warehouse. He has limited time. He calls the cop. And he can't get out to the work because the big goon's watching him. He basically goes out to the shore. The rocks are there. Takes his clothes off, puts them in a pile, down his underwear, and then jumps to the water and swims.
This is the hunky man meat scene, ladies and gentlemen.
If you
got a buy like this, you got to show it off. I've got zero issues with this. He's a good-looking man, got a fantastic physique. But the spy stuff, right? It's simple. Take off your clothes, put them in a bag, hide them where the tide won't come up. You're swimming away. That's not easy to do, and we watch them do it. They don't rush it.
But I love this. This is a nod to those who are fans of Smallville when he played Aquaman.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Good call, sir.
Yes, and he played Aquaman in Smallville back in the day. He came off the pier and he's all in front of Lois Lane. He's he's got the same thing. He's no stranger to this.
Okay.
So, but he gets out and she's waiting on the side of the road and she sees him and she's like, oh, and then he changes clothes and she's saying at his package. He's damn well she is. Turns around and she gives him a shirt and his shirt says, "I love Maine." Because
that was not funny. That was not funny.
I love that. That's like because it's last
minute. Necessary, right? Last minute, right?
So grab what she couldn't know what his size was as far as his shirt, so she just grabbed whatever she could. Last minute. Anyway, so they go search the warehouse. She's like, "Where'd Angel? Where I left him, right there." And he's like, they clean the blood up after searching everything, and then two guys show up and are like, "Angel, you in there?" And they see the blood and there's a struggle. And he's like. And they're like, open. He's like, because after this, after they got to Angel, they basically Angel had already been locked in his car. They put him inside a stationary shipping container number 13. He's like, so make it look like he's gone because it's gonna take him forever to find him because no one checks. He can look off the bearing. He basically him knowing knowledge. He said, look at how the wear and tear is. No one uses these whatsoever. They're just sitting there, whatever storage, whatever, and. So the guys show up, they struggle with them, they kill them too. He's like, open up number 14.
Yeah.
So, and I love
that was kind of funny, but there's this part here while they're snooping again, spy stuff, limited time frame. They're walking around, they've got whatever, they've got a plan, we know what it is. Something doesn't go according to plan, it shit happens, so it's cool. But there was a scene that I like, and this is where I think Reacher having the background that he does, I think he's doing a good job acting it. He's not playing it like a Jason Bourne or James Bond, right? It's a different kind of character. But when they do the entire forward, the cop, she's pissed because her informant, she thinks probably dead by now, a young woman that had successfully weaned herself off of drugs and all that, can't find any trace of her. He had found in a hidden bunker,
back in
a giant
1.
hoop earring. So, the pressure's on to find her because there's no signs of foul play or blood, but a part of her jewelry was there. So when he goes up the second flight or a flight of stairs to where the office is right before the guys come up, you see him and he looks and he goes, "We need to open da 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 da," and there's like a hint of like strain in his voice. And you're like, what is he saying? And they show you like where like there's a potential like light or something like that. Oh, maybe they're keeping her alive, and so maybe they're like hooking oxygen into it with the pump, and it even says it. But of course, they don't find her. So again, simple spy stuff, but the way you do it and present it, it's fun to watch. This episode's really got me sucked in.
I love it because in the very first episode, he said if she's alive, the chances are she's dead. Because he searched under the barn where they interrogated him and do the Russian roulette. He noticed when the guy fired the bullet, the oil went down, but it didn't go completely away.
Yes,
it had a puddle and then it dripped a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I love it though. He opened up the whole entire thing, and that's when he found out. Basically, he found the bed. I said obviously they're keeping her alive for a reason. She's not dead yet, but he's like. But he says, like, she's not going to have much time. You might as well assume the worst and then assume that she is dead. Because if my guy I'm looking for is involved with this and what he did to my friend, because he talked about in episode 2, they're in the truck together, and he said, like, this guy is a horrible person. And he's like, he couldn't even speak about what the guy did. He just know this guy's a really serious fucktard. Episode 4, I imagine they're probably gonna, because she is billed in there, the actress who's gonna play this girl, Sophia, I think it is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
She is. I guarantee you, we're gonna show her in episode 4, hopefully, either alive or dead. But
let me ask you: you're of the age, being the '90s guys, I like to say, me the '80s guy.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard the expression that it takes a lie to cover up a lie, and the more lies you tell, you have to tell more lies to cover up the lies you've told, kind of thing. One of the things about here is that when he kills the one guy. And he literally breaks his legs. He's literally got a few seconds to just shove him under a table, keep him out of sight. And they're trying to clean up the blood. And he's like, blood's a real pain in the ass to clean up. She's like, how many times have you done this? And
I know,
up, right? It's not meant to be funny, but it's just that is what he deals with, right?
I think it's supposed to be both. Because
perhaps. I mean, it's dark
humor. It's dark humor.
Right. What I like is that he's like, okay, I'm trying to get this thing accomplished. We're hardly getting anywhere. They're not making really much progress. Now, eliminating things that it can't be is important because what's left over is what you have to deal with. That's classical Sherlock Holmes, whatever. But here, now you've got 2 more guys that are dead, right? So what do you got to do? And he thinks, you know what? We're not getting anywhere. He even says, we've got to up the ante here. What we've got to do is I've got to get closer to him because the son's not giving him anything. He's not getting anything. So he's got to just be more valuable to be in. So the whole idea here is that they're going to mock up a situation where they go to the house that they have off the grid where they're keeping the one guy technically hostage.
Yeah, he had fed him a lie this whole entire time that the people who took him are probably his competitors, and this is a power play. And so he believes, like, and even Anthony Michael says, like, what? It makes sense. They're a bunch of junkies and meth heads, So you talk about they take him out to the place because what happened is that during the second episode, before they got rid of Angel's body, they used his fingerprint to open up his emails, and then they sent a fake Book's email from Angel. Yeah, and so make it seem like Angel, he basically had set him up, and this was working for the other side. So and then when Reacher goes down there with the guy, Reacher had kept Angel's gun. He kept the warehouse because when he swam back, he had it in a garbage bag and he kept it there before. It was like the guy
which
says,
is smart. And if you're not thinking, what would you do? You might not. And I like how they're smart with stuff like this.
Yeah. So he goes back he grabs his gun before they go to leave. He puts his back pocket because he doesn't know. Well, they're not going to give a gun. They don't trust him. And the last time they gave him a gun, there was blanks in it, except for the one real bullet. And I loved how he basically Reacher had filed on his gun though in the first episode. He talks about how they're going to fire blanks. I'll put a notch here in the knife so I know when the blanks stop. So he knows automatically when the guy uses the gun. So getting this little house in the middle of the woods, knowing where they found the GPS. Michael Anthony Hall's with them too. It's the main head guard number 2 guy was working. Is number 2.
Yep.
And they go in there. Anthony Michael stays in the car. and Reacher comes in behind him, because the guy's like, screw this, I'm not gonna go in second. It's like, if I go in there second, I'm almost looking dead, whatever. Because he said Reacher lied, said they're in there drugged up. Don't worry, I'll go in first. Mm-hmm. So he lets the guy going first, puts a gun to his head, and he turns like, "Oh, this is your plan. You're going to
Reacher played him 100%, and you can tell he's planning all these scenarios out like he's on a mission, because he literally is. Yeah. And his experience kicks into play here. And when he whacks him, he sets it all up in a believable way,
pulls out this
into the main man spot, so to speak.
Yeah, I love it how he does it too. Like he shoots the guy he's like, "You're not going to kill me." It's like he shoots him right in the head, kills him, drops him dead because he thinks Reacher's a cop. He's like, "I'm not a cop." Kills him. Then he goes to the stove. He rips the valve out, the gas thing line. Yeah. Then he puts all his chemicals, puts them in the microwave, turns it on, and leaves. And then he goes, ding, boom.
Yeah.
And then he goes there. He's like, "What happened?" Like, he's dead. It's like, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "I think I recognize some of the guys. Yeah, the two guys from the warehouse." So make it look at they're all to explain why they're missing and stuff. I just love it how it all comes together and everything. And that's what I love about the show. You got a guy who looks like a normal would be a meathead, but he's intelligent. So he's like your apex predator.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And now here's the thing. We see a little bit more of Anthony Hall's character about like, man, you really fucking did it. Because Richard's like, yeah, I hadn't gotten paid yet. He's like, hey, if you do all today, I'm going to give you 10,000 or whatever.
You get more. Yeah. You're number two, not guy.
So you could tell that he really cares about it. But I tell you, what was surprising to me after everything we've talked about here, that we get a chunk of episode 3 that I really liked, and we haven't hardly said anything about it at all, is his son and Reacher, because he says, Reacher, I want you to take him to town, blah, 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 entertain him. And so you get a little bit more, and Reacher cannot get any information out of the guy. They're kind of bonding. The kid isn't like 12. I mean, he's like 20s in college or right out of college.
Mid-20s, yeah, and he's not a fighter. He's kind of like a wuss.
You know what? And here's honestly what I thought was the best piece of writing for a character that I was not expecting. And this is one of the reasons why I really loved this episode, was that what it turns out, it's Anthony Michael Hall's birthday, a big 5-0 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So his son's in there with town with Reacher, and Reacher's like, "What are we doing? Going to the toy store?" Because there's only it's a small town. It's hardly.
What do you get for some guy who has everything? Yeah.
So he talks about how his dad used to talk about a cap gun, like, the old ones that have the caps.
When he's young.
Yeah. And I love how they walked in there. The son had called ahead. They go to get the gun with it. And I'm like, it's just the way the kid's acting. I'm like, this is really kind of nice.
It's a really cool gun because
I'm being serious.
It's a Roy Rogers cap gun that he used to have, until he said he says his dad told me until a nun took it away or he never got it back. So it
makes you think that they're gun running, and this is just a simple way of telling you earlier. But Reacher's trying to Reacher runs to the restroom to make a call. The kid's like, "Okay, I'll meet you outside," and then that's when some bullies come to show up, and Reacher busts the fuck out of him.
Yeah, basically, knocks him up, beats him up. Breaks the bat over his knee, snaps it, everything like Bo Jackson. And then later on, they're sitting there having lavender ice cream. He's like, "This is disgusting. This should never." Yeah, he's like, and then the kid's like, "You know what? You're kind of right. They should never do this." They throw up at the trash can.
Yep.
He tells him, "Hey,
it was a nice scene.
It's a bonding scene." He's being a bigger brother.
But not even just those two bonding. The way he thinks about his father, he doesn't hate his father.
No, he doesn't hate his father. He loves his father.
His father had more time for him.
The kid says it's complicated. I love my father, but I know that my father is not a nice person. He's involved in some stuff, and
Reacher even plays the card something along the lines of, "You know what? Come on, I saved your life twice, and I really almost died for your father, and I'm wanted by cops. You can at least tell me what I'm getting involved in here."
Yeah,
and it's like, I really don't know. As far as I know, it's just rugs.
Well, no, just rugs. He says my father works for somebody else. And
so it sounds like a front organization for something deeper, because the manifests are the only thing that they aren't keeping. They're consistent, but they're not. They don't operate by standard procedure.
What it was, they found out in the warehouse that his dad has a shipping business and operating where he basically was able to shipping route stuff, getting stuff into the country and stuff like that. And it sounds like somebody, a gangster, found out about this and basically in his blackmailing him and using his dad's shipping lanes in order to smuggle his own stuff in or smuggle stuff out.
That's what it seems like.
We don't know what it is,
or what the product is.
But Sonya Cassidy's character, the cop, is down there. She's down there and she's watching everything, spying. And meanwhile, we got Red Shirt Boy, as we brought up in the chat, who's watching the personal bodyguard, the kid that was supposed to died in the car crash in the beginning, first season.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy, and he leaves him alone for a second, and the guy, because he has like sitting on a chair, it was like a gothic style iron chair. He purposely cuts his head in the back because he's trying to get the kid to sympathize and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, as Bree brought up in the chat, I don't think this kid's gonna make it past season 4. Or not season 4, but episode 4. I think he's gonna end up getting his ass kicked and killed, and it's gonna cause a problem. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe we're just led to believe that. As I said, these shows have a way of making us think we know what's gonna happen, but it doesn't happen, which I kind of like about that, because I love when you have I don't want to go in a movie and like oh, that's the killer, and then it ruins the whole movie for me because like, oh, I was right.
Yeah,
I like when I don't know.
You don't have a big build up, so you don't have a big payoff.
Yeah, so I hopefully that kid survives, and that doesn't go that route. But something's gonna happen. Something's good that has to happen between those two, because it's just like, if nothing doesn't happen, it'd be kind of a letdown. I really want something to happen. Either the kid gets attacked, but the kid ends up shooting the guy and kills him. I would hate to have the kid, die, but yeah. We also, the funny thing happened too in episode 2 was their Reacher, who just snuck out and stuff, originally, and it was told he was going to lay down and go to bed, and he's swimming, and the guy's like, go up. You can't go to bed. You have to, he had to go do the drive truck, and then afterwards he's like, go. Well, first, before he goes to drive the truck, he has him go talk to that's number 2 and right hand man for Anthony Michael Hall's character, and they're in the gym, and then he's in there. The guys are working out, and they see is the big brute guy, Lucas, I think his name is. I think it's Lucas or something like that, and they basically, the guy throws away. He's like, oh, how much you press? And Richard's like, I don't bench press. I don't know. I don't do that gay shit.
Stupid.
Yeah, don't do that crap.
Yeah.
So he's like, what I do, how to test the strength? We do arm wrestling. And he goes, what? And he's like, do this. And then he goes, he's like, what I'm gonna do is I'll pull on, you make a fist. I'm gonna pull your hand with both my hands, and if I get your hand down there, I win. If you did, you win. So he does it, and what Richard's gonna do. He's gonna keep pulling. The guy's like, pull his strength. And he lets go. The guy punches himself in the face. and the guy can't do anything about it because like their boss comes in and he's like, oh, I'm gonna beat your ass, and just like, it's like I said, I love this. Like it's like when you watch a movie with Jason Statham, Transporter, he eventually comes up against that one big dude after taking out 14 little guys. They've done this with the James Bond comic book recently with Garth Ennis. He beats up all the Russian, and there's always that one huge freaking burly Russian, and you're like, oh shit, so now you're gonna get your ass kicked. I'm waiting for that fight scene, because even Reacher had mentioned, he's like, I really don't want to fight him, but yeah, overall, this first 3 episodes have been awesome. They're like 45 minutes each. They're just fun. It just feels. Reacher has been like my number 1 show. Whenever it comes on, nothing else really matters to me, really. And maybe it's and I don't know if it's bias. I don't want recency bias, maybe. But like, I love Tulsa King, but Reacher, I love because of the action.
Well, the thing about it, it's what I would call a mature violence. There's certainly not actually a lot of it. There's very little.
It's what I love from James Bond
and stuff, but yeah, it's not.
It's like James Bond shit. And that's what I like about it. People going undercover doing stuff. Honestly, I don't hate the Tom Cruise movies. I like it either.
He captures the spirit, just not the physicality of it.
Yeah, exactly. So when Lee Childs is like, do I want this guy? No, you're not too big to play. You can play this role. Yeah, go ahead. It's like, why would you not? It's not over the top like laughs with like with Arnold when he does Commando and stuff. But I mean, like, it's the same thing. It's believable that this guy, can is his character, and they write it into it. It's not he's trying to be someone else. They actually write in the fact that it makes sense. He's a big dude. He worked out in the military and all that stuff, army stuff. He knows his stuff. Like I said, I like this.
One of the things
it's kind of like the updated modern version of Kung Fu. Which continues wandering from town to town. The drifter who helps people and then leaves.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of merit to that observation, because that's a thing that's gone through. One of the things I was going to say about this that also I think works too is that regardless of what you might think about books and how they should make a movie and of it, everything's
Yeah.
not going to be exactly the same in terms of the
No.
characters. If they add new ones, if they force having a crew in for whatever reason, that sort of stuff, the order that they go in. I'm just trying to enjoy it for what it is. And like I say, I prefer more of the spy stuff and mystery stuff and quick thinking on the feet, and how all the characters, there's not a lot of yucks, but it's not what I would call dreadful, morbid. But there's something about the tone in this third season that reminds me a lot more of the first one. The first one wasn't like as hardcore as what I thought it could be, because it was more of a, hey, here's Richters, what's going on sort of stuff. Two is just, I was not a fan of two. I was not looking forward to watching some of the episodes once we got about halfway through, because they really dumbed it down, in my opinion, or just whatever turn they were taking it, I did not like. And I always hate that with shows that we like, especially a season one, because you can go, man, they don't need to do much better in season two, but please, please, please don't try to make it a lot better. Just keep going with the formula and be true to whatever you're doing. Here, I'm getting a lot of like season one type of vibes with it.
Yeah.
In this last episode, I'm going, man, I'm really looking forward to the next one. Like I've said to you before, we've debated this about whether or not everything should just be a dump of all the material, all 8-10 episodes, whatever it is, or week to week. And I like it, because now I feel like certain shows seem to work, but right now, like Cobra Kai, get it done and over with, right? Here, I'm looking forward to just kind of talking about it, and the next week going, okay, we got another episode to watch.
This is a show that really keeps you on your toes, man, and champing at the bed for the next episode. It works with this to do one a week, where other shows, like Cobra Kai, just drop the whole season. You know, it's not like everybody's like, oh no, I'm waiting to see what happens in the next episode. You're not really. It's like Cobra Kai is a binge show, where this is just basically you can wait a week and it makes it better. You know.
Now, you've not read any of the books, correct?
Never read any of the books.
Okay, so do you have a problem where if they were presenting Reacher like differently than a book, or
here's the thing, and that's the problem. If you read the books, especially the way that Lee Child probably describes it, you have an idea what the character is supposed to be and all that stuff. And when these corporations, or companies, or production companies decide to, you know what, we're going to go away from the source material and create our own thing. 9 times out of 10. They decided to add stuff in just a virtue signal, or there's stuff that is nonsense, doesn't belong in the book whatsoever, or belong in the series. And yeah, when it's that stuff and they perverse it, they totally change what the character is supposed to be. Yeah, then I have a problem with that.
Another thing, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, but if they actually can go by the source material and maybe take it in a new direction, but still keep what made the character great, what made the comic awesome, or even with the book. You know, they keep that in there, then I'm okay with it. But they never do that, though. They always like, well, you know, like, especially look at comic book movies. It's a big thing. Well, the fans don't know. You know, we're not going to go by what the comic books. We're going to go a whole new direction. And we're just going to have a very heavily watered down version of what the source material is. And it seems to be the case with even movies that aren't comic book stuff. So, like I said, I don't know about this, but I'm liking it so far without having read the books. But if I read the books and I'm like, well, I'd be kind of disappointed. Like, why didn't they include this? Why did they cut it out? But then you realize, okay, they only have so much time to do stuff. So they can't fit everything in the book into the story.
Yeah, and I like...
But that's for movies, though. For TV series, if that's the case, well, then do more than 10 episodes. Give me 20. I'll watch it. Like, you know.
What I like about the whole thing is Lee Child is a guy that did what Reacher did. He's a tall guy, lanky, not very physically big.
I've seen photos of him. Yeah, he's tall.
Yeah, and he does cameos in the movies. He's usually like a ticket taker or something. But he spent some time where he would travel and this and that. And I like the idea of it, because it's what you said. It's you know, Incredible Hulk. It's
Wanted,
any of these kind of shows.
18, you know, it's like,
like
a single person.
Or you just have a new adventure every week, sort of thing. And,
Yep.
But I think the thing that's working for me right now, bigly, is just there's a little bit of suspense, a little bit of unraveling. You're not in a rush to find out what's going on. You get a sense of danger that if he screws something up, and if it does screw up, that he's closer to maybe being caught. Now, you know, he can fight his way out of it and all that, but I like how, honestly, in the right situations, violence is the complete initial answer. If it is, boom, it's done. That's it. It's not
Mhm.
violence for violence sake. He's trying to figure his way out. So a lot of the verbal back and forth, like when he's driving in the car about what he likes, doesn't like, or with the boss, you can tell he has to think on his feet, but he's got that sense of mind of, is I can't give myself away. I have knowledge of things that they don't know about, but I can't present it as such, but I still got to try to make it seem believable. Like when he's blatantly lying to stuff, that's decent acting. You look at him go, he's a big lug, but that's not what Richard's about. It's really, to me, about some of the suspense and just where it's going on, and how, if you really are doing something bad and evil, whatever you want to call it, or like here, whatever the business situation is going to be, you can kind of hide in a lot of ways, and it's not just that simple to go find out. And one more thing I want to throw at you too: if Lee Child's been writing these books since the mid to late '90s, one a year, we've seen technology change so much, from televisions to cell phones to all sorts of stuff. So there might be some things that don't match up to the book world. I really don't give a rat's ass. Whether it sounds like he's talking really loud on his little tiny phone hidden in his boot. Okay, maybe that's a little kind of ridiculous. Or people might be like, oh, well, he just climbs down the thing and nobody hears him, sees him. They don't have a dog on property. I'm willing to let that go. It's not that blatant to me. Because there's enough on it where you go, hey, when he's coming back, something might not work because things haven't worked. So I like that feeling while I'm watching each episode.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the cast. I misspoke. The big brute guy, his name's Polly. Olivier, Richters is the guy, and he's just, you look him up, man. This guy is freakishly tall. It's reminds you of, if you also watch Monday Night Raw back in the 90s, there was this really tall guy wrestler. He was about
Kurgan.
he was about 8 feet tall. Died in 2010 because your heart gave out, heart disease. When you're that huge, your heart just stays the same. So I mean, this guy, and Richard made a joke about it. It's like, and it's about the guy being on steroids and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, and I was laughing because I'm like, well, Richard, Alan Richardson's character looks like he's been on some stuff too, enhancements.
As an actor, I think he played Blue Mountain State. I mean, he's got a nice physique. He played football or whatever. And he's admitted to being on TRT, which is not steroids at all.
No.
Anybody who knows anything about that knows that that's not true, but who cares?
Yeah.
I don't want to tell these guys, talk about how difficult it is to run a cycle for a movie and how hard they had it. I don't want to hear that when you get paid millions. He looks the part. He works hard for the part. More power to him.
Yep. The other character is Richard Beck, who plays the son, Berchtold. It's basically Richard Beck and Zachary Beck is the name of the father son in here.
Yeah.
And then
one
Quinn,
of the last things. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was like that the bad guy's name is Quinn. So the guy who basically is revealed at the end of episode 3, when they're watching and taking photos, all of a sudden this guy shows up out of the driver, and how now everybody just pays attention to this guy and looks at him. He comes out and he's like, we know that this guy is the guy who basically is that Anthony Michael Hall's character is working for.
Yeah, there's a connection, and that'll unfold as it goes
and we
on.
saw him before though. In the first episode,
because Richter saw him across the street, was surprised by it when he was waiting for a bus, and that's how he got involved in it. So it makes sense when you watch them. Okay, and there's a lot of threads wherever it can go.
This is a show that every detail you notice matters. It comes back, just like Rabbit Hole.
Yeah.
I want a new season that badly.
Yeah, it was a little over the top. But one of the last things I wanted to talk about here before we close up is, okay, it's interesting because I think a lot of people watch it because it's an action show or whatever it is, and it might be different than what they've seen. I've said before that while Pierce Brosnan looks great in a suit and kind of prissy and all that, and over-reliance on guns and gadgets, not necessarily my favorite Bond movies. I'm not knocking him as an actor for the movies that he's in, but there's definitely was a change in the early 2000s with action movies in general. We've kind of verbally discussed some of these changes over the decades on other movies, but obviously Jason Bourne coming out brought a brand new way of looking at maybe a modernized version of it.
The camera chases, all that stuff, the car chases, motorcycle chases, all that stuff. We got Mission Impossible doing that too. The 90s is just just everything changed.
But what kind of show would you describe Reacher as? To me, again, I still go back and say it's a spy show with a lot of action. I don't think it's an action show with a lot of spy stuff.
It's a detective action thriller with a little bit of dark comedy in it, a little bit, not too much, but situational comedy, here and there. But overall, I'd say spy thriller.
I just like watching
with
people
action.
trying to figure shit out. That's
And,
cool to me, and you get a lot of that in the season.
and that's all I want. Is like I said, that's all we've wanted for a lot of stuff. You know, for people who are a fan of the Batman movies, it took us how long to actually get a Batman movie where actually it was all about him being a detective? That was the last one, and people didn't like it because it was Matt Reeves. But you know, not Matt Reeves, but it was Rob Pattinson playing Batman. I don't give a shit about that. I was like, he's billed as the world's greatest detective, and they actually finally give us a movie out of what, 8 movies so far, or 9? I forgot. I lost count. But like, he actually started doing detective mode and started doing. I was like, what? Finally. So this show is all about that detective stuff. You know, as far as Reacher notices little things. He's also got previous knowledge, being an MP. He, you know, and they really heavily focus and reinforce that what he is in the second season. Even though I don't like the team thing, it went back because something happened in his past. Is now coming back to you know, and it was a great way to explore and show him being an MP. Whereas the first season, we didn't really know much about that. We were just told that, and it gave us a story about his family and stuff. So I kind of like this because this also reminds me of like him bonding with the son in this. It's kind of how Reacher had a relationship with his brother.
Yeah, that's a really good observation because they haven't leaned into that, and that was definitely key to what was going on before. And very interesting there.
Yeah.
No, I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to episode 4. Close us out, sir.
Episode 4 is we call it Dominique, and who is the girl who went missing. She is billed in this finally, officially, by Mariah Robinson. I'm looking forward to that coming out on Thursday nights. Gonna drop. We will be doing episode 4 this Sunday, and we decided to basically, well, I think we should. I at least I want to for next Tuesday. Let's talk about Gattaca. Let's go back to 1997, and then after that, we'll start doing the polls for Tuesdays. And I'll usually do them for Sundays, but Tuesdays will be the new. I'm gonna drop the poll for tonight, but it'll be for next Tuesday's review, which will be always at 8 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate everybody here. There's 9 people watching. Marania, Eric Breen, who's in the chat. I think I saw Desert Rose, and anybody else who may not have left a comment in the chat. Don't be afraid to say hello. But we also appreciate you watching in the background too, having it on. Check out our playlists. Rob and Pixel, we basically just got done reviewing Forever Night. The final episode for season 1 review will be dropping this Friday around like 7 p.m. Eastern. Check that out there.
And to pile onto that announcement, we went ahead and decided we're going to be recording a season 1 of a show that I'm a huge fan of, and you guys might like it in your own variation. It just seemed to kind of tie into Reacher with detectives. It's the late 80s going into the 90s version of Jeremy Britt's Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if that was ITV or BBC, but A Scandal in Bohemia is the first one. So those you can find on Internet Archive. They're on Tubi, a great print. It's one of my favorite interpretations of Sherlock Holmes. It's about time we've tackled some of that. So the young 20-something Professor Brooks and I will be releasing those as well. Yeah, we definitely wanted to be covering Reacher, and you and I don't do a lot of TV together,
so season
we're
2.
flipping just the way we do it. Yep.
And I know we did skip season 2. We did season 1 overview. Check that out. That's from a couple years ago. Reacher has been a show. I had no idea how much I actually liked it until I realized it went away. And I was like, there isn't that many shows for me to really enjoy. I recently just started watching Landman. I'm halfway through episode 2. I know you're all caught up probably.
Yep.
Yeah. There's 10 episodes. Come on, November with Bob Thorne. I thought even about just doing a season review of that with you too, is because I'm actually liking it. But here's the thing though. It kind of reminds me of a little bit of Monarch. And you're like, Monarch with the Kurt Russell
How
thing?
so, sir?
The reason I say because there's 2 stories going on at the same time, and I only care about when Billy Bob Thorne's on the screen. It just falls flat for me. The story about his
All
son.
I'm going to say is
I'll just say that
I've come to really enjoy his son's story.
Yeah,
and you're not that far into it yet.
I hope it gets better, man. That's all I can say for me personally. I know
it does for me.
But so far, I was just like an episode and a half in. I'm just like, every time they cut away to go somebody else. I mean, even John Hamm. I don't give a shit about his character.
I don't. But I think John Hamm excels in this kind of roles.
Yes.
I really do. He's very solid.
Yeah.
And I will say this: I'm a Redskins guy through and through. Moranya, this is not blasphemy. I
Yeah.
honestly do not know Jerry Jones's actual history of how he became to own the Dolphins, the Dallas Cowboys. But he does have a cameo in a later episode, and all I'm going to say is this about Jerry Jones: he fucking crushes it. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. We're going to end it wrapped up right on here. If you can, go back and check out other playlists. We got from martial arts to action to even some comedy movies we just did. We just did Spies Like Us and
Stop
or My Mom Will Shoot You, which was bad. But you said so we've got all different genres we're doing. So thank you, and just check this out because we really do need the watch time on this channel. I know you're like, well, you have over 1,000 subscribers, but it's a channel that was neglected for a while, and we kind of half-assed it. Now we finally got all the subscribers, but we really need the $4,000 watch time, and we're a little bit under 2,000. So if you can just,
you guys really want me to bring Rob's Redskins review back? I know you do.
Rob's Redskins reviews, as long as you're also doing. Only way you do that is if you're grilling out and you film yourself, grilling, or to show your hands on the grill. That's all we care about. To show the meat you're cooking and give me a review about the game with the beer in it. That's all we want, Make
Good night now.
Later, guys.